In this video, I'm going to explain the 5 reasons you keep rebounding the weight back after your diet and why you can't keep it off. So I'm going to explain the science behind rebounding, the science behind metabolism, and my 5 main reasons why most of my clients that come to me in the past have lost 20 pounds just to gain it right back. So my name's Adam Bundle. I'm an online fat loss professional. I specialize in hormonal priming, body recomposition, and higher level forms of nutrition through metabolism manipulation. I've quite literally worked with dozens of guys who've been stuck in fat loss plateaus previous to us working together, and I've successfully helped dozens of those guys get to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been using higher level forms of nutrition, exercise science, and proven nutrition strategies. So we're going to cover the 5 main reasons why people keep rebounding after their diet. So reason number 1, you don't have a defined point A. So people come to me and they always have a defined point B. They want to get to, 10% body fat, 12% body fat, or lose 20 pounds. But they don't even know where they're starting at. They don't even know where their starting calories are at. So if you don't even know where your starting calories are at, you don't even know where your starting calories should be. So getting very granular about where your starting calories should be, where you're currently at, and where your currently caloric amount per day intake is where you need to start. If you're not tracking calories, you need to start tracking calories. Because if you're not tracking your calories, how are you going to update your diet? How are you going to update a diet that you don't understand how much food you're actually eating? In a lot of cases, when people start actually tracking their food, tracking their calories, they actually start to realize in very granular terms how much food they're actually intaking per day in the form of fats, proteins, or carbs, right? So this kind of leads into the fad diets in today's society, like keto, carnivore, fasting, right? There's all just one-size-fits-all diets that at the end of the road, there is no updating them, right? The reason why my clients are seeing amazing progress is because I have them track their calories, more importantly, track macronutrients, and I update them based upon the progress they're making. With diets like keto, carnivore, fasting, there is no updating them, right? Once you hit that certain plateau, there's no updating a carnivore diet. There's no updating a keto diet. There's just, an end of the road, right? As opposed to knowing your calories, knowing how much calories you're eating, and then updating them each week based upon the progress you're making, right? That will guide your body on a better metabolic path and help your body keep being put in a deficit rather than just guessing where you're at, guessing where your calories are at, and guessing and putting a ton of cardio on the table just to gain it all right back afterwards, right? So a second reason is massive upfront diets, right, that lead to very, very quick weight loss, but also lead to quick muscle loss, right? So you've probably heard of the people that, lose 20 pounds in a month, right, just to gain it right back the next month. Well, quite literally because, one, when you start losing weight at that specific rate, you start to lose a lot of muscle tissue, right? Muscle tissue is quite literally one of the most important parts of the male human anatomy. Why? Because muscle tissue is highly calorie absorbent, it's highly glucose absorbent, and it's 4 times as metabolic as fat, right? So as you start to lose a bunch of weight super fast, you also start to precondition yourself to fast weight loss, right? A lot of people don't really care how much weight they lose. They want to lose body fat. There's a problem in today's society with knowing weight loss versus knowing fat loss, right? Most people, if they were at their current weight they're at right now, but six-pack shredded, wouldn't really care. People want to lose fat, and the correct way to actually lose body fat is at about a 0.5 to 1.5 pounds per week to make sure that you are maintaining muscle tissue. And maintaining muscle tissue is one of the most important things about, weight loss in general, because if you start to lose muscle tissue, your body will start to intake less calories, need less calories in general, and then you put your body in a position where you have to eat even less calories to lose even more weight, right? Then it leads to like the skinny fat phase where, you don't look like you have muscle, but you look like you have a ton of fat. And what the skinny fat phase is just an inadequate amount of muscle tissue to actually fat mass, right? Which makes you look and appear more fat, but technically you just don't have enough muscle to actually push against that skin. So people precondition themselves for massive weight loss right off the bat, and then once they hit that plateau of the typical 1.5 to 1.5 pounds per week, they get frustrated, they get upset, and they just kind of just quit altogether, and they just gain it all right back because they go back to what they were doing exactly before they started, right? So instead, optimize for losing body fat slow and optimize for training within your training program and getting good muscle hypertrophy to actually maintain muscle tissue. This will help build muscle tissue, yes, but also lose body fat, because your body will be maintaining the muscle tissue, using the calories that you're eating to maintain the muscle tissue, even in a deficit, and it'll take away from the actual calories getting expenditured for body fat, right? So the massive upfront diets are what kill people altogether, when they just, go balls to the wall right off the bat, precondition themselves for fast weight loss, and then they hit that plateau. They hit the typical 0.5 to 1.5 pounds per week. They get frustrated, they quit, and they gain it all right back, right? So number 3, let's kind of cover like the scientific side of things, right? So like, obviously I specialize in, higher level nutrition and actual metabolism with a lot of my clients, right? Understanding basal metabolic rate is super, super important when it comes to fat loss and weight loss in general, right? Because scientifically, your body doesn't want to lose weight, right? Your body doesn't want to lose weight. Your body will restrict you from losing weight. Think about prehistoric times, right? When, your body starts to lose weight and your body goes in a state of peril, and your basal metabolic rate starts to slow down because your body doesn't want to lose weight. Your body's an organism that is 10 times as smart as you and I, and you need to treat it as such, right? So once you start to lose weight, once fat cells start to shrink, it will quite literally send signals to the brain to raise ghrelin and to lower leptin, right? So ghrelin is the hunger hormone, right? Leptin is the satiety hormone. So quite literally, once you start to lose weight at a very fast rate, you start to increase the amount of, satiety, or increase the amount of ghrelin in your body, which makes you more hungry, and decrease the amount of leptin in your body, which makes you less satiated. So understanding that, one, your BMR is super, super important when it comes to weight loss, keeping your BMR intact so you don't lose muscle tissue, because like we talked about, muscle tissue is very highly glucose absorbent, and it is one of the most metabolic parts of the male human anatomy. So one, like if you don't understand the BMR and that the downregulation of your BMR happens over time, you need to understand that, yes, you need to lose weight at a 0.5 to 1.5 pounds per week so you can mitigate the lower of leptin and mitigate the raise of ghrelin, right? So understanding taking it slow, nice and slow approach rather than the fast, balls to the wall approach that most people take it. And understanding that your basal metabolic rate needs to keep intact, and understanding that you need to take it slow at a very slow deficit, slowly add cardio, slowly lower food, and so that you're not putting your body in a state where your basal metabolic rate gets shot, because with your basal metabolic rate, it's 75% of your entire metabolism, right? So if you start to lower your metabolism, one, you start to downregulate all your hormones. Your body quite literally will start burning less calories at rest. And it comes in the sense where people think that calories in versus calories out is the end of the world, or this do all say all, but that's just not simply true, right? Because there's a lot more hormonal factors at play within your basal metabolic rate that come into play when we're talking about fat loss, right? So think about basal metabolic rate as icing on the cake, right? Having a high basal metabolic rate when you're depicting calories in versus calories out means that you can lose more weight, lose more fat just by doing nothing, right? So think about most of my clients, and we talk about energy flux, right? Which is a high energy flux is eating more calories and burning more calories, as opposed to, eating less calories and burning the same equal amount of calories in that form. I guess eating 3,000 calories and burning 15 opposed to eating 2,000 and burning 1,000, right? You would think it'd be relatively the same. You're burning half the calories that you're intaking, but icing on the cake is having a high BMR. So understanding your BMR, understanding how to keep your BMR intact, and understanding that if you do a fast diet right up front, you put your body in a position where your basal metabolic rate will get shot and your metabolism will get shot. And once your metabolism gets shot, because the thing is that once you start to lose weight, it's inevitable that your basal metabolic rate, your metabolism will start to lower over time. So understanding, one, when you get to that point, how to properly reverse back out of that deficit, have to properly put your basal metabolic rate back intact so you put your body in a position where you don't gain a bunch of weight really fast, right? So most people, what they do is they lose a bunch of weight really fast. They don't understand the overall science behind your basal metabolic rate, and they go back to doing exactly what they did before they started their diet, and they just gain it all right back. You have to understand that the basal metabolic rate is one of the most important factors when it comes to fat loss and maintaining the fat loss long term. being able to properly reverse out of that diet very slowly, get your basal metabolic rate intact before you start eating a bunch more calories is super important. Because the science behind rebounding in general is that, your fat cells in general, right, they expand and they shrink. They expand and they shrink, right? When you lose fat, they shrink. But when you get to a point where you put your basal metabolic rate in a form of, position where, it's very low, once you start to rebound, those fat cells actually start to multiply, right? The actual cellular fat cells start to multiply, right? So they don't just expand, now they start to multiply. So understanding that keeping your basal metabolic rate intact and making sure you reverse out properly is super important when it comes to fat loss and sustaining fat loss long term, right? So this kind of leads into my next kind of position on number 4, which is the actual lifestyle change, right? So a lot of people really never make the lifestyle change. A lot of my clients who have lost like 80 pounds, 90 pounds, they quite literally say that they take on a new identity. And what they mean by that is that like they are completely different people before their weight loss journey and after, because they have new hobbies, they have new beliefs, they have new sets of discipline, they maybe even have new friends, new people they hang around with, because your environment is everything, right? And so like making the actual lifestyle change is super important for keeping sustainability and long-term longevity within your fat loss goals, right? Because if you go back to doing the exact same thing after you lost the weight and go back to living the same unhealthy lifestyle you did after you lost the weight, you're just going to gain it right back, right? Because it's inevitable, right? If you do the same thing that you did before you lost the weight and expect to not gain it back, then, that's just silly, right? So like the more discipline you have, the more different people you hang around, it's like more of a lifestyle change that people need to make after they make, the initial weight loss, right? So along with that, finding the type of exercise that you like to do long term, right? So a lot of people who maybe do crazy amounts of cardio, cut their calories super fast, or whatever it may be, they just don't enjoy it, right? It's not enjoyable. Like doing a bunch of cardio, it's not enjoyable. Maybe you're doing a weight training program that you don't necessarily like, but you're just trying to get the weight off. You need to find something long term in the form of maybe you need to switch it up every once in a while. Maybe you like the training program and now you want to do maybe a form of running or whatever it may be. Finding something that you can do long term is more important in the form of like actual exercise. For me, for example, I love weight training, right? But I constantly just change up my goals, change up my lifts to do exactly what I like doing so it makes it fun for me. You guys need to put yourself in a position where after you lose the weight, that you find something that's so enjoyable that you would rather go do that than go sit on a couch and watch Netflix, right? You get the same stimulus, the same gratification out of doing that, and that's how you make the lifestyle change long term. And even if that's like switching up your cardio routine, switching up the type of exercise you do, switching up the type of training you do, it doesn't really matter. As long as you find something that you like to do long term that will lead to more sustainability to help you keep it off for good and help you sustain that lifestyle change, like that will keep you from feeling burnt out and feeling like you go balls to the wall just to hate what you do and to hate the cardio you do and just completely stop it because you hate it so much and then you just gain it all right back. You need to find something that's enjoyable for you, make the lifestyle change, give up those distractions that were holding you back before. Don't go back to doing the exact same thing that got you fat in the first place, and find an exercise routine, find a weight training routine that you actually find gratification and stimulus from. Like, for instance, I just picked up running for, the first time in over 7 years. Just because just to keep it interesting, right? I've been training every day for probably 7 years straight, two days off a week, 5 days training a week. And the biggest advice for me is just to keep changing goals up, keep changing the focus up, keep changing your style of training up, keep changing your style of cardio, whatever you like to do for cardio. If you like to go for a walk and take your kids on a walk, go do that, right? Find something that you enjoy doing that's going to be some sort of exercise that is going to be sustainable long term so you can make the lifestyle change long term and you don't gain the weight back by doing the exact same thing that got you fat in the first place. So the last thing is the actual education, right? So a lot of people don't actually have the correct education around nutrition, training, what you actually need, protein, carb, fats, calories, because it does come down to a science. Everybody's body works differently. I work with over 70 guys right now, and each one of those guys needs a certain different type of macronutrient protocol, a certain different kind of exercise protocol to help them keep the weight off, to help them build muscle tissue, and to get to a leaner physique and optimize their metabolism, right? And that's the education that most people are missing nowadays, is what you actually need, right? They skip to these like online diets like keto or carnivore that people say are great, when, at the end of the day, like, there's just a one-size-fits-all program, right? Or like that PDF from your local trainer that you got the other day. It's just kind of, a cookie-cutter approach. Like, to make long-term progress, you need the education on what your body needs. Everybody's body's different. So if you're doing the same thing that the guy at the gym lost 80 pounds from, and you're not seeing the same progress, that might be why, because his body's completely different than yours, right? And education in today's society is one of the most powerful things that they have, because in the last 20 years, let's think about this. In the last 20 years, society has gotten more sedentary. So the food industry has gotten more saturated with highly processed sugars, carbohydrates in, the form of highly, calorically dense foods. And, over the course of time, like, it's almost like one of the most important things in today's society right now to understand nutrition, right? Because it's not getting any better. It's not getting any better at all. It's just going to get worse. People are going to get more sedentary with cars, with delivery services, Uber Eats, whatever it may be. And the food industry is going to keep pushing, bullshit foods down your throat. Going to keep pushing bullshit, saturated fats. I mean, you go to Sonic and the cheeseburger there is 2,500 calories. I eat 2,500 calories a day. And most people don't understand that. Most people don't understand that. And this is like one of the most powerful times in human history to understand nutrition at the higher level, because if you don't, nobody's going to teach your kids, as this gets even worse day to day, right? So like there's a power in getting the right information the first time too, right? Trying other things in the form of, trying XYZ that didn't work for you, trying it again, didn't work for you. Like, there's a power in getting it right the first time, because the people that get it right the first time are the people that make the progress the fastest and make the progress long-term the fastest as well, right? And like just having a plan of attack for your fitness journey, having a plan of attack of XYZ. This is what my body needs, XYZ, to get me there, to actually sustain me long-term and keep the fat off for good, right? Because like motivation comes in the form of actually knowing what, like, in having trust in what you're doing. If you're trying that keto, diet again, that you lost to 20 pounds but gained it right back, or you lost 20 pounds and now you're stuck for the last 4 months, there's not really much motivation in that. Like, you're stuck. You're plateaued. There's not more motivation. There's no more better form of motivation knowing that you have the right process in play and having the right trust in the right plan, right? So it's like, because people will go to doctors for like medical advice when they have a rash on their arm and they want to get rid of it. They'll go to the mechanic when they need something fixed for their car. But for some reason, people in today's society are unwilling to go to a fat loss expert, a nutrition expert, to get the actual nutrition they need to put their body in a better position, health-wise, mind-wise, confidence-wise. And I think that's the actual thing that society is missing, is that people are either unwilling to invest in themselves, or they have the ego that thinks that they can just do it themselves. There's no ego in asking for help. There's no ego in making progress faster than the person you're right that has the ego that says he can do it himself, but he's been doing it the last 20 years and made no progress in the last 15. So like understanding that you need to invest in yourself. Like there's no better form of investment in your health, in your mind, and in your confidence. Because if you are unwilling to invest in yourself in the form of getting in better health, feeling better about yourself, feeling better about confidence, feeling better about how you walk and how you talk, how you perform at work, then why would anybody else look at you with any sort of value if you don't value yourself enough to invest in yourself? Most people would rather go buy that new car, go buy that new watch, go, on that vacation, and just to drown out the feelings of how they actually feel about themselves. And they would rather put the short-term gratification in right off the bat, rather than put the long-term gratification of doing something for themselves in the form of investing in yourself for health and longevity and education, what you need nutritionally to get to a better confidence. Because I can tell you right now, like, having confidence in the way you look is a lot better than having a car. Having confidence in the way you feel, the way you talk, the way you think is a lot better than that vacation you want to go on, because that will be something that nobody can take from you, that nobody else can have. And like, I think a lot of people need to get to the position that they need to put the guard down, put their ego down, and get the help that they need. And like I said, if they're willing to go to the doctor for the rash that they have, or go to the mechanic to fix their car, but you're unwilling to go invest in yourself, I think that's, there's no other better way to in life than to invest in what you need, especially in the time of society when actual nutrition advice is at an all-time high, and knowing what you need is an all-time high as well. 20 years ago, you probably could have gotten away with not all the information about nutrition, right? Because you were always active. Like, cars weren't as, Uber services weren't as, prevalent in, cars. People were walking more, outside working more. And it comes in a form as like people, even guys who come to me, it's like, oh, I'm like older, my metabolism is slowed after 30. That's not true. Like, scientifically, your metabolism doesn't slow. Scientifically, your metabolism does not slow. And they even did a scientific study that like people even at 90, their metabolism actually like lowered about 20% over 90 years. What's happening today, society, which you don't know, is your metabolism is not lowering. Society is getting us to the point where we're less active, which is making you more fat, which is putting you in a position where you need some type of routine, need some type of exercise. Because, in prehistoric times, we didn't have to go out for exercise. We didn't have to go out for fitness. Now we have to. Now it's almost a necessity to put yourself into a position for fitness, because society has put us into a position where we don't need it, and we don't need to be physically active. And if you don't go out and search for a physically active activity, you will get stuck, you will get fat, and you will gain weight. All right. So, those are my 5 main reasons why people gain the body fat back, why they get stuck in a fat loss plateau. And so the overall, message I want to perceive today is that 1, track your calories, weight train hard, take your progress slow, right? And make sure you find something in the form of exercise, physical activity that you like, that you can do long term. And if you don't know how, go find somebody that'll tell you exactly how and teach you exactly what you need around education to get you there and to sustain it long term, right? Because it's time to stop wasting your money on the same bullshit that kind of gets you stuck, get you plateaued in the first place, and start putting the money in a place where it's going to invest long term, so you get the education and you find the lifestyle change and you get to the spot that you need to be in your highest form of confidence and your highest form of health. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me guys know if you like this video. Go watch my free metabolic priming training video down below, my full guide on entire metabolic priming. I think it has like 150,000 views right now, which is absolutely wicked. You guys are absolutely killing this channel. And so keep it up. Keep up the subscribing. Keep up the likes. And I'll see you guys next time.